Conspiracy theories, eh? Wait till you get a load of this.
Hello, and welcome to Cracked Sisters Conspiracies. We're a podcast that covers conspiracy theories, mysteries, and all of our spooky shit. My name's Jackie.
And I'm Cassandra.
And we are Said Sisters.
Hello.
Oh, happy December.
Yeah, it's December now. We are post-Thanksgiving. We are in the month of Christmas. Good God, it'll be here before we know it. But I am almost done with my shopping, so.
I was done until I remembered that I have in-laws now. So I'm not totally done.
In-laws. Oh, what are you doing for in-laws?
Well, she called me. I didn't know we were doing anything, but she's like, hey, I know you're going down south to see your parents, but we'd like to see you guys. We're going to send you some presents. I'm like, you really don't have to. She's like, yes, we do. Because now you're a daughter-in-law. Like, we have to buy you presents. I'm like, oh, well, that means now I have to buy you presents. So she had mentioned that she wants to do axe throwing. She's never tried it.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to get my mother-in-law axe throwing gift certificate. I'll go with her. Maybe we'll get her nails done or something. I don't know. And then he's on his own for figuring out what to get his dad because I don't fucking know.
A noose? I don't know.
No, he's better. So we went over there on Thanksgiving. I was so nervous on Thanksgiving because we were stopping off at his parents' house and then we were going to Billy's. And we haven't talked to his parents at the wedding. So we get there and we were like, we had a game plan. We had a hard out in case we're not going to engage. We'll let people say stuff and then we'll leave. They were so fucking pleasant. And it was the best day. We ended up staying an hour later than we expected. We were late to Billy's.
Wow.
Having a legitimately good time. So we think everyone is in the mindset of we're just going to pretend like this never happened and not discuss it ever, which I'm okay with.
I mean, yeah, so sometimes just blowing right past that and there's a mutually agreed upon reconciliation. And
yes, I think that's what's happening. So that was good. And then we went to Billy's house and that was really fun. I got fucking hammered. I spent all weekend being hungover.
Do you remember trying to call me when I was in the middle of watching a movie?
Vaguely. So Dre, if I was drunk, Dre was very drunk because she was stress drinking because she was hosting.
Yeah.
And there was 19 of us or something. So every time I popped up, she goes, a shot? I'm like, okay. So
she's the worst influence, by the way.
No, so she made me take so many shots. So I don't know. At the end, everyone had left relatively early. We were just going to spend the night there. Dre's like, how's your sister? I'm like, she's good. She's like, let's call her. I'm like, okay. And I remember physically calling you on the phone and I was trying to figure out how to do a FaceTime. And you just kept saying, I'm watching a movie. I'm watching a movie. And then we hung up. That's all I remember.
I'm like, and I don't have FaceTime. And you're like, do you see it on your screen? I'm like, no. And then I heard.
Well, we have the same phone. That's why I was asking.
Yes. But then Bill was in the background and then just the three of you. I'm like, I'll talk to you later. Bye. And then you texted me and then I texted you back and then you did not.
I don't even remember you texting me. No, I was very drunk. So then we spent all day Friday hungover. Then on Saturday, so 2 days ago, we went to a ugly sweater bar crawl.
I saw that.
And that was really fun. And we made friends with a couple that's actually our age, which is nice. But then we got schmammered on that one. So then we spent all day yesterday hungover, and I'm really tired of being hungover.
Yeah, I mean, 'tis the season. This is usually when it ramps up pretty bad. And then we dry out in January, and then the roller coaster starts again.
How was your Thanksgiving?
Unremarkable. And that's okay.
That's good.
Our plans of doing nothing and just cooking at home kind of blew up. But I mean, it was fine. And I had to get up at 5:00 the next day to go to work. So I'm like, whatever. But I only had to work a couple hours and then I went and got my tattoo. So
yeah, that's exciting.
Yes. It hurts though. I'll show it. So finish the inside. And then finally did it all the way around.
Very nice. Yeah, you were sending us such zoomed in photos. I'm like, I'm not sure what body part. I know it's an arm, but I don't know when anything of what. That's why I'm like, I need you to zoom out a little bit so I can figure out where I'm looking. But yeah, it looks very nice.
I'm like, it's the detail of the flowers. But yeah, I finished that finally. I already conceptualized my next one. So
where's your next one going to be? On the other arm?
Probably going to be on the other arm. So just start building them out. So if I have dark here, it kind of makes everything else look.
Oh, there you go. I like that. Did you schedule it or not yet?
Not yet. I'm just letting my cash accumulate again because he charges me next to nothing for it.
Yeah,
It's
nice.
like fucking dirt cheap.
Yeah.
But I don't want to take advantage of it too frequently. So I'll give it a break. And then this weekend we put Christmas out, and this was the first Christmas since we've gotten our cat. And
yeah.
and Evan was commenting, he's like, oh, she doesn't even seem to like care about the tree. That's great. And then I shit you not, within moments of him uttering those words, that bitch has been up in the tree since like Saturday. And
no.
we had to get new ornaments. So we got shatterproof ornaments because she climbs in there, she chews on the branches and then knocks all of the ornaments off. So she's a monster. It's so fun.
Did I text you about the cat?
Oh, you did.
Because I remember going, I don't remember this bitch having a cat. And Alex like, me neither. And I'm like, oh yeah, she got a cat because he posted a really cute picture. But I don't remember how far into the night I was during this text.
Yeah. That makes more sense. Yeah. And I was like, your husband wants a cat. He told me he wants a cat, but
oh yes, we are not.
Your dogs would just not allow that.
I would not allow it. We have too many things in this house.
That's true. Don't take on anything else. I don't think you physically, emotionally, mentally, any of it can be handled by you.
I agree. Do you remember what my topic is today?
I don't remember the specifics of what your topic was, but I remember you gave me two choices and I didn't know what either of them was. So
it's true. So today we are going to talk about the Kentler Experiment or the Kentler Project.
That's right. And I didn't like the sound of the word Kentler. Is that a name?
It is. It's very difficult for me to say. It doesn't like roll off the tongue.
It's so hard. Kentler.
Well, it's German. This is a German story.
Oh, okay.
So let's talk about it. This story is about a repressed and unloved man who has some severe daddy issues and decided to overcorrect in the name of science.
That sounds about right. I mean, at least it's science and not some other violent output, unless it goes like it's bad science.
It's bad science.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
But it's not good.
Oh, okay.
So Helmut Kentler was born on July 2nd, 1928 in Germany. His father worked in the Nazi German government, and apparently his mother was rather insignificant because I could not find her name or anything about her. So this is where she ends in our story.
Okay.
Kentler's dad was not a loving, caring, or sensitive man, and instead he believed in discipline, suppressing any and all emotions, and just being like a first-class asshat.
Okay.
Kentler had this very specific image of his dad growing up, and he thought he was super tough and badass because he was a colonel at the high command of the army of Nazi Germany. And he just seemed like to get stuff done. And his dad basically, I believe my dad's Superman. It was that kind of admiration.
Gotcha.
But when Kentler was 17, the Nazis were defeated and his dad returned home. And he was very upset about this because he enjoyed being a part of Nazi Germany. And Kentler looked at this man whom he once feared and respected. And he just saw this like pathetic shell of a man who didn't really have a purpose. And he's like, I don't know why I was scared of you. You're nothing. So he kind of like lost all respect for his dad in that moment.
I feel like that's a big, monumental, life-altering event right there.
But daddy issues run deep, and his toxic relationship with his father is what started this whole entire story that we were getting into.
Okay.
So after high school, Kentler wanted to study theology and eventually become a pastor. But his dad said that he needed to study something more practical and wanted him to do some sort of technical or vocational training. He's got to be a man.
I had that same conversation with our father when I wanted to be a marine biologist. And he's like, no, you need to do something more practical that you're going to make money in. Go to business school. Or
no one ever said that to me, but I didn't think the hopes were too high. You were the scholar in the family.
I mean, if any one of us was going to succeed, I mean, let's be real. But you have done just fine on your own. I give you lots of kudos.
There you go. Different strokes for different folks. I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, so Kentler did as he was told by his father, and he completed an apprenticeship as a locksmith and then studied electrical engineering. But then when his father died, he said, cool, now I can do what I really want to do. And he kind of like was super open and he started exploring his own interests. So he dabbled and studied in psychology, medicine, education, and philosophy.
Those chains had been
Yeah.
released and he was free.
Exactly.
Ugh.
So he learned a lot, he worked a lot, and he like garnered a name for himself. He was becoming very well known.
Okay.
He helped develop something called the theory of emancipatory youth work, which is how he became so popular nationwide. He then became the head of a department for social pedagogy.
Oh,
I looked up how to pronounce it. That's what it said.
okay.
And adult education at the Pedagogical Center in Berlin. Also, some of this is German, and I am not a German speaker.
You're doing just fine. You're doing great, sweetie.
In 1975, he earned his doctorate in Hanover with a dissertation titled Parents Learn Sexual Education, which also appeared as a book and was actually relatively popular.
Interesting.
So in 1976, a year later, he was appointed at a university lecturer for the training of vocational school teachers for special education at the University of Hanover, where he taught until his retirement until 1996. So he had his doctorate, he was a professor, he like just did a lot of scholarly shit. Also published a handful of books and acted as the psychological consultant for police issues during the student riots in Berlin. After spending some time with these students, he became an advocate for emancipatory sexual education in the home.
What does that mean?
We're gonna find
Because
out.
I
What do you
know
think it means?
I'm like, I know you think emancipation, that's like the kids being away from the parents and like I am my own individual. I don't have someone. And then children, and then sexuality, or is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah. So, figuring it out. But like, I feel like there's some other sinister undertone or something gross.
Let's continue.
Okay.
So he's a smart guy, very well accomplished, very well known, respected within his community. So what could possibly go wrong?
Everything.
Post-World War II life in Germany was very interesting. The government wasn't trying to necessarily gloss over everything that happened, but it was like, let's focus on other topics that are completely unrelated just to kind of let this wound heal a little bit.
I mean, that kind of sounds like glossing over it, but like distracting from it.
Well, I don't want to offend any Germans, and I don't know a whole lot about German history, but
Yes, as Americans, we are limited in what our knowledge is. It's a bit one-sided.
So one of these topics that Germany decided to hard focus on was homosexuality. Gay people were being prosecuted and persecuted left and right for being gay. And Kentler found this to be very scary because he himself was actually gay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he kept this very well hidden because one, he feared he'd be arrested. But two, his dad is like uber straight guy and rah-rah. So like he was really afraid that if his parents ever found out, they wouldn't love him anymore.
I mean, I think that ship sailed a long time ago.
And your dad's dead, so you're fine. So another aftermath of the war was homelessness. So there were over 1 million children who either became homeless or orphaned, whether their parents died or their parents fled and just kind of left them behind. So the government wasn't in a position where they could handle all of these homeless young teenagers. So no one really came up with a solution at that time. Kentler saw this and he's like, I feel like we should do something about this. But he also wanted to change the way that sex was talked about in like family settings.
Okay.
And he wanted to kind of open the experience between children and their parents to like have these talks and not just be so repressive about sexuality.
Sure.
In this man's big scholarly brain, he believed that parents should introduce their children to sexuality. Because otherwise they, quote, risk leaving them sexually underdeveloped and to become sexual cripples, end quote.
Okay. I agree with that, but not in the same words. But
so he was also quoted as saying, parents must be aware that a good relationship of trust between children and parents cannot be maintained if children are denied the satisfaction of needs as urgent as sexual ones, end quote.
Okay.
So this may sound okay. It may sound a little bit alarming, but it's like you're not really sure what to feel.
Like, which way is this going to break? Yeah. Please, are there demonstrations involved? I'm sorry. I don't mean to jump ahead. Okay. No.
Demonstrating.
No, I mean like the parents, like the kids learn by observation.
No, I did think it was going that route based on one word that I said, but no.
Oh, okay. I feel a little better.
You shouldn't. So I agree with him to the extent that I feel like sex should not be deemed bad. Kids, if they're at an appropriate age, should feel comfortable talking to their parents. They won't, but it's nice to like have open communication, especially if someone's gay. Like I think all that should be, important. But Kentler also said that, but then he like keeps talking.
Oh.
And that's where he loses some people. So he said, quote, sexually satisfied children who have a good relationship and trust with their parents, especially in sexual matters, are best protected against sexual seduction and sexual attacks, end quote. So basically what he's saying is if the lines of communication in their home are open and children aren't fearful of sex, then they will never get raped or molested.
Do they just like gain this magical aura around them?
And it's like, that's an interesting take. I'm like, you kind of lost me a little bit, but I was willing to maybe stick on this track with him.
Okay.
But then he outright told parents that they shouldn't be worried at all about their children being sexually abused. If they suspect it, they shouldn't immediately go to the police.
Oh.
Because, quote, if the adult was considerate and tender, the child even have enjoyed sexual contact with
absolutely not.
So Kentler believed that a sexual relationship between a child and an adult were super duper okay, and that personal development would come from destigmatizing these types of relationships.
No, that just went, it was so much worse than I thought.
So now let's talk about the experiment.
No! No!
So now that you know this man's mindset, and that he is a public supporter of adult-child relationships, and that there's millions of homeless and orphan children that need somewhere to go, he devised a plan, or an experiment, if you will.
To pimp out a bunch of homeless children for science?
Not necessarily, but you're on the right track.
Oh.
Now a quick word from our sponsor. Do you live in the Bay Area? Are you in need of a CPR class for work or just to gain knowledge? Well, look no further because CPR Education has you covered. They host public classes every Saturday in Pleasant Hill, ranging from CPR and first aid, BLS for healthcare providers, infant essentials for new and expecting parents, and EMSA-approved courses for licensed childcare providers. Whatever need you have, CPR Education has a solution. Go to cpredu.com and use code CRACKED for 20% off any public class. That's CRACKED, and you'll get 20% off any class of your choosing. CPR Education, keeping people together.
So in 1965, Kentler worked to solve the problem concerning underage runaways, drug addicts, and prostitutes, because those are, the at-risk youth.
Mm-hmm.
So he went to the Zoo Station, which is like a train station that was very popular for all the degenerates to get high under, to do their prostituting at. It was like a very centralized location.
Degens from Upcountry.
Huh?
It's from Letterkenny, sorry.
Oh. So while at the Zoo Station, Kentler met a 13-year-old boy named Ulrich, whom he described as, quote, one of the most sought-after prostitutes at the station scene, end quote.
Wow.
He asked Ulrich where he normally stayed, and he told him about a man that he called Mother Winter, who fed the boys at the zoo station and sometimes did their laundry. So it was a person that kind of looked out for them.
Okay.
And then this interaction sparked a thought in Kentler's mind, and he's like, I know what I'm going to do. My experiment is I'm going to help out these homeless at-risk children, and I'm going to have them be put into a foster system with literal pedophiles.
Great. That is just the best marrying of two groups of people that I could think of. Amazing. No flaws.
Not at all. So he truly believed that placing neglected boys with what he considered secondary mental defectives, which is just a fucking pedophile, would reintegrate these children into society and allow them to grow into mature adults.
Yes, let's abuse the children at the bottom of the barrel who have everything going against them, and just that's going to better their lives.
Exactly.
Yep, got it.
And he claimed that the experiment would help the children regain social stability through exposure to these pedophiles. And he was well aware and made it well known that these kids would most likely be sexually abused by these men. But as long as it wasn't done coercively or forcefully, everyone was going to have a good time.
That's not how that works. That's not how any of this works.
This is so bad. At the time, the Berlin Senate, which governs the city, was eager to find new solutions for the life problems of our society. So they heard his idea. They're like, yeah, we like that. We don't see anything wrong with that. We will give you funding and we will help you further this project.
Germany, you were 0 for 2. Okay.
You guys are not doing great. Kentler he round up some local pedos, and they were people that had either literally been charged or it was like well known and it was a fact that these men like to have sex with little boys.
You know, the men that you tell your children to stay away from in a normal household. Cool.
Instead, he rounded them all up and he's like, let's get you all applications to be foster parents. And they had to be single. They had to live by themselves. They had to have no adults in their life. It was only these men and these poor children.
Jeez.
And then Kentler himself actually had 3 adopted sons and 1 foster son, which makes you think.
I'm like, were they experimented on?
Maybe not. Who knows? Kentler placed several neglected youth aged 13 to 15 as foster children in the homes of single pedophile fathers. The pedophiles were actually given an undisclosed amount of money per month to basically live their dream and rape or molest these boys. And the state's going to pay for it because if you're a foster parent now, you get like a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Money back. There's like an official term that I can't think of.
A refund or
a refund. But they're like, hey, we're going to help subsidize you because you're doing such a good thing. So you want to be a pedo? Here you go. Here's some money on top of it.
Let's just make it super extra hard to resist on your part.
Exactly. So it is unknown exactly how many foster homes were set up or how many victims were involved in this experiment, since conveniently all records and specifics of these experiments have been either lost or destroyed.
Convenient.
Kentler only publicly spoke about 3 foster homes, but the Senate also ran these foster home programs in West Germany, and they also included pedophile men. They just took what he does from his central location in Berlin, went to West Germany. So it's unknown how many people that this affected.
Oh, no.
In 1981, Kentler was invited to the German parliament to speak about why homosexuality should be decriminalized. And instead, he just went on a rant about his experiment. And he flat out admitted that these broken children were put up with because the men who fostered them were in love and no one batted an eye. Like, it's a group of literal Congress people, for whatever Germany's version of that is. And they're like, yeah, that sounds like, this is really good because you're a smart, sophisticated guy, and whatever you're saying, it's just the way it is.
It's a little alarming how easy it is to sway people's opinions if you're loud enough. If you command the attention well, if you present well, you can say pretty much anything and people will just okay.
Yeah, or it's just a quirk. Maybe I heard him wrong. I'm not sure. Yeah, they rationalize it like crazy.
No, you can't justify shit like that.
He also talked all about his experiment in his book titled Le Vater, Kinderbraun Vater. That's like the German
about father.
It translates to surrogate fathers, children need fathers.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe
Vader. Not. Vader means father.
Yes, I know, because that was the big reveal in fucking whatchamacallit.
Pitch Perfect?
Well, no.
Oh, I'm like, no, it was a reveal in Star Wars.
Star Wars is what I was going to say, but I learned about it in Pitch Perfect.
And that's what I knew, so I thought that's where you were going.
There you go. Oh, my God. So, of course, as I mentioned, he is a very smart man, even though he's a fucking weirdo, but he waited to open his mouth and talk all about his project and his experiment until the statute of limitations was up. Because he's like, I know I'm not going to get in trouble for it. And I know what I say is controversial. So I'm going to wait. And then I'm just going to talk all about it. And people are just going to listen.
It's not controversial. He was straight up wrong. And he knew
yes.
it. Yeah.
Many bad things. So in addition to creating this experiment or project, whatever you want to call it, and fostering young boys himself and maybe or maybe not abusing them, he also acted as a forensic expert in abuse cases. In 1997, he had been involved with up to 30 abuse cases.
Well, I mean, he's got firsthand experience. So yeah, continue.
And he publicly stated, quote, I am proud that so far all cases I have dealt with have been terminated with the discontinuation of proceedings or even acquittals, end quote. So basically,
I got away with it.
They got away with it because how are you going to have someone in a position of power who doesn't believe that raping young boys and molesting young children is a crime? So, of course, these people are getting away with it because he doesn't believe there's a crime to begin with. And he's supposed to be a victim advocate. But he's like, nah, it's fine. Like, you wanted this to happen or you're poor. Get it. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, unfortunately, we still deal with stuff like this here and now.
We do, but this
Just
is
not to the same level.
Yeah, this is extra infuriating, but you are correct. This is not a solved problem.
No.
So what do people have to say about all of this information?
They probably love it.
It's 50-50. So Kentler was very open about what he did and very proud of his work. He wouldn't and couldn't stop talking about it to anyone who would listen. But people either weren't really listening or they were just, like we mentioned, giving him the benefit of the doubt because he is a rich, successful, accomplished man. And they're like, we must not be hearing him right. There was a woman named Karen Desserant. And she had come forward and explained that two of Kentler's foster boys had come to her and said, hey, we want to use you as our therapist. Our foster dad was molesting us.
Okay.
As a therapist, you would think she would like take them in and help them.
Do
but she
anything.
Was conflicted because she's like, yeah, that sucks. But Kentler is a friend of mine. He got me my first job. I don't know. I don't want to get involved. Here's the number for a different therapist. And then she publicly said, well, the boys wanted to keep their abuse private because they didn't want to lose Kentler's care and like his safety net because he's such a good provider for them.
Right.
Yeah, allegedly later came out and said, like, my bad, I was wrong. But I'm like, go fuck yourself for how you have two kids that are telling you this and you turn them away because
you don't get to walk back from that. No.
Not at all. Then there was a man named Gunter Schmidt, who was a former president of the International Academy of Sex Research and a friend of Kentler's. One day, when Kentler was 57 years old, he sent Schmidt a letter basically saying that he was just as happy as could be. He was living his best life, and he owed his life being so good to this love story that was between him and his 26-year-old son, and that the relationship had gone on for 13 years, and it was still going strong.
Oh, my God.
Which means that him and his, I believe this is his adopted son, because he had one adopted, 3 fostered. So he started dating him and had
At 13.
And they were going strong and he was so in love.
I am so sure.
Sadly, that son ended up committing suicide by hanging in 1991.
I can't say I blame him. God.
And then Kentler, after this loss, he did a little bit of reflection. He read a paper titled Confusion of the Tongues Between Adults and the Child, The Language of Tenderness and of Passion. That was the name of the paper. It's very long.
None of those words should be used together in the same sentence.
But in the paper, it's like, hey, this is bad. Relationships between adults and children, no go. It's not good. It's always going to be asymmetrical, exploitative, and destructive. That children will not always protest because of a number of different reasons, and many don't have the option to refuse. So don't have sex with underage boys. A year later, during a 1992 interview, Kentler basically said, shit, I read that after my son killed himself. Had I done it before, I would have that pedophilia is a sexual disorder. And that is like where he left off. Like, he's like, yeah, technically it's not good. It's disordered thinking, even though he was fine doing it himself for 13 years.
And encouraged. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then got the government in to let
Yeah,
other
I'm like,
people
and it became this whole big thing where everyone was, yay, pedophiles.
Yeah. He also, during this interview, he didn't admit to having relations with his son, but he's like, he did kill himself. It was questionable, but he killed himself because his mom sexually abused him. I was just here as a good Samaritan.
Right.
Yeah, so he totally tried to gloss over that as well. So Kentler's experiment or project went on for 30 years and officially ended in 2001.
I don't know how he can justify calling it either an experiment or a project. That's just like,
it's disgusting.
It's just straight abuse.
I know. So in 2015, after people started hearing about this, because it stayed under the radar, even though he's literally voicing it, people just weren't picking up on it until really like 2015, 2010-ish.
That is too recent for my liking. That needed to have happened.
But we get even more recent.
Oh no. Okay.
So people are hearing about this in 2015 and they're pissed. They're like, this is fucking weird. So this led the Berlin Senate administration to call upon a third party, so a woman named Teresa Nentwig, and they asked her to dive into the project, figure out some shit, and then report back her findings. So she did a deep dive, and this is how we know that there are no documents. We don't know how many victims there are. And she basically found that Kentler had been in charge of young boys all over. He helped, administrations continue this. He wasn't just a foster father, but he was also a teacher and a mentor to many people and probably fucking abusing them in those positions as well. And she said, I don't know how many people this affected, but I'm fucking disgusted. And you guys should all be ashamed of yourself for accepting this at some point.
Okay.
So we're on to a right track, at least.
I know, that's the most logical thing I've heard so far today.
In January 2018, Leibniz University of Hanover pronounced that it had initiated further investigation into Kentler. And President Volker Epping said, quote, I am downright shocked that at a time the executive and the judiciary let themselves be swallowed up by it. Disgusting choice of words. I am completely flabbergasted that the professional community did not comment, did not cry out about this activity of Kentler, end quote.
Not even just the professional community, like all of the community.
Anybody?
Yeah.
And then on June 15th of 2020,
okay,
a report prepared by a scientist entitled Helmut Kentler's Work on Berlin Child and Youth Services, people don't know how to shorten these things up,
right,
was presented in Berlin. And in this context, the Berlin Senator for Education, Sandra Schiris, she promised that those affected by this abuse would get financial compensation from the state of Berlin.
Okay.
So this is 30, 40 years later. She's like, yeah, I know there's victims, are bad. We'll give you some money. But people aren't coming forward because there's nothing that can be done. The statute of limitations is done. The state didn't help them the first time. What makes you think they're going to fucking help you now? And no one wants to talk about the abuse that they went through.
And I'm like, how many of them do you think killed themselves because of it?
Or are not living great lives now because of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kentler thankfully died on July 9th, 2008. I don't know what he died of. Hopefully it was a painful and slow death. And there was a really good article. It's very in-depth. There was a lot of big words, which is what I sourced some of this information from in the New Yorker. And it's titled The German Experiment That Placed Foster Children with Pedophiles. For anyone who wants a little bit more context, a little bit more information about it, you can go read that New Yorker article. And in it, they talk about one victim. One victim came forward. He saw Kentler's face in the newspaper and he had a flashback and he's like, oh, I know that guy. He put me with a pedophile. So he finally came forward and talks about it in this article. So
oh wow. Okay.
So that is the Kentler experiment.
That was awful.
I know.
It was so bad.
Some children.
But as soon as you mentioned, I'm sorry, don't come at me, Germany. But as soon as you mentioned a German man and then the Nazis,
so the first thing I said,
I knew it was going to be bad.
I know.
Because and you proved me right. So
this one, bad man or two bad men, whatever. But yeah.
But no, it was an entire
I know I'm trying to give Germany a little pass here, but yeah, it's gross and atrocious and very interesting. I had never heard of it before.
No, I had not heard of that either. I kind of wish I can go back to the person I was before I heard about it, but here we are. So this is one of those, the acknowledgement of your nuptials. We're just gonna move on past this and not talk about it.
Right. So do you know what you were going to cover next week?
No, I need a topic. Give me some ideas.
Oh, a good one would be the fruit of the loom cornucopia.
The Mandela effect?
Yeah. So apparently there was this one chick on fucking TikTok.
Proof of it. She had a video.
That it was a Mandela effect.
Okay. I'll write this one down. Okay. You know what? Let me consult the book too in case there's any stragglers.
So I don't know if you have any more that I don't have.
Ew, what just fell out of this? Oh. It was on the ground and there was cat hair that came out of it. You know what? I have a couple that I will pick between. Thank you for your contributions. I will find one between now and next week.
Okay.
But in the meantime, as you can clearly see, I'm struggling here and need inspiration. So you can reach out to us on our various social media platforms. We have Instagram, Patreon, TikTok, X, Facebook, Blue Sky. We have a website, crackssistersconspiracies.com. We have email, crackssistersconspiracies@gmail.com. You can also find us on YouTube. But yes, please reach out to us because I need help very clearly.
And because it's December, I finally have to make our merch stickers. So at the end of December, we will be sending out or mailing out a packet of the stickers to all the people that are paid members. So if you want to get some stickers, you should probably join our Patreon as a paid member. You only have to do $1 and I'll still send you stickers.
Like that's totally going to pay for the stickers and then some. Like we're going to be out money, like paying for the shipping and the material. So it's a gift to you. But yeah. With that, I'm going to say stay cracked.
Have a great day.